Welcome back to Capital Catch-Up. I'm Victor.
And I'm Leni. Today, we're diving into a slew of recent bills and resolutions that have been introduced in the 119th Congress. We'll break down what each measure proposes, why it matters, and what kind of real-world impact it could have if it becomes law.
Let's start with the coastal and ocean front. House Resolution 2294 aims to reauthorize the Integrated Coastal and Ocean Observation System Act of 2009. In plain terms, that act set up a nationwide network that collects data on water levels, temperature, currents, and marine ecosystems. Reauthorizing it would continue funding for those observations, which feed into weather forecasts, storm surge warnings, and fisheries management. If the data stream were to lapse, communities that rely on accurate marine information, think coastal towns, shipping companies, and recreational boaters, could face gaps in critical safety information.
Another marine-focused bill is House Resolution 3692, the Captain Accursio Gus Sanfilippo Young Fishermen's Development Act. The title tells us it's meant to support young people entering the commercial fishing industry. While the text isn't in front of us, the name suggests it would create or expand grant programs, training opportunities, or mentorship schemes aimed at lowering the barrier to entry for new fishermen. Given the aging workforce in many fisheries, that kind of support could help sustain domestic seafood production and the coastal economies that depend on it.
Staying on the water, we have Senate Bill 2357, the Young Fishermen's Development Program Reauthorization Act. This is a Senate counterpart to the House bill we just mentioned, seeking to renew an existing program that provides similar assistance to young entrants in the fishing sector. If both chambers pass their versions and they're reconciled, the reauthorized program would likely continue to fund education, training, and outreach projects that help the next generation gain the skills needed for a career in commercial fishing.
Shifting to veterans issues, House Resolution 7534 is titled the Contract Our Veterans Act of 2026. The wording implies it would direct federal agencies to prioritize certain contracts for businesses owned by veterans. In practice, that could mean more procurement opportunities for veteran-led small businesses, potentially boosting employment and entrepreneurship among former service members. The exact mechanics, such as what percentage of contracts would be set aside, or how eligibility is verified, would be spelled out in the bill's text, but the overall goal is clear: improve economic outcomes for veterans through federal contracting.
Another veterans-related measure is House Resolution 7523, the Spent Petroleum Catalyst Recycling and Critical Minerals and Metals Recovery Exemption Act. Despite its long title, the core idea appears to be creating a regulatory exemption for certain recycling processes that extract valuable minerals from used petroleum catalysts. By reducing hurdles for recyclers, the bill could spur more domestic recovery of critical metals like platinum, palladium, and rhodium, materials that are essential for everything from catalytic converters to renewable energy technologies. For everyday Americans, that could translate into a more stable supply chain for clean energy components and potentially lower prices for goods that rely on those metals.
On the defense side, House Resolution 7240 is the Military ADS-B Out Loophole Act. ADS-B stands for Automatic Dependent Surveillance Broadcast, a technology that allows aircraft to determine their position via satellite and broadcast it to ground stations and other aircraft. The bill's title suggests it seeks to close a loophole that currently lets some military aircraft fly without transmitting ADS-B out signals, which can increase the risk of mid-air collisions, especially in busy civilian airspace. If enacted, the measure would likely require greater transparency from military flights, enhancing overall air safety for commercial pilots, private aviators, and the public.
House Resolution 7105, the Guaranteeing the State's Protection Against Invasion Act of 2026, is another measure with a self-explanatory title. While we don't have the full text, the phrase protection against invasion indicates it would address federal support for states dealing with large-scale influxes of people across borders. Potential implications could involve funding for National Guard deployment, border infrastructure, or emergency assistance. The exact scope would depend on the legislative language, but the bill signals congressional concern about border security and the federal government's role in aiding states.
Moving to agriculture and youth development, we have a pair of resolutions that are largely symbolic, but still worth noting. Senate Resolution 527 supports the goals and ideals of a National Move Over Law Day. Move Over laws require drivers to change lanes or slow down when approaching stopped emergency vehicles, tow trucks, or maintenance crews. A resolution endorsing a day to raise awareness about these laws doesn't create new legal requirements, but it can help spread the message that compliance saves lives, particularly for first responders and roadside workers.
Senate Resolution 622 expresses support for designating the week of February 28, 2026 as National FFA Week, recognizing the National FFA organization's role in developing future leaders and celebrating the 50th anniversary of Alaska's state FFA Association. Similarly, Senate Resolution 434 backs the designation of the first full week of October 2025 as National 4-H Week. Both resolutions would simply acknowledge the contributions of these youth organizations. They wouldn't allocate funds or create programs. Their value lies in drawing public attention to the leadership, agricultural education, and community service that FFA and 4-H provide to millions of young people nationwide.
Continuing with commemorative measures, Senate Resolution 64A1 recognizes the 114th birthday of the Girl Scouts of the United States of America, praising its leadership development programs for girls. Senate Resolution 642 celebrates the 175th anniversary of the Young Men's Christian Association, or YMCA, noting its long-standing work in youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility. Again, these are simple resolutions that express congressional sentiment rather than enact change, but they can help highlight the positive impact of these nonprofits on communities across the country.
On the business and regulatory front, House Resolution 7362 is the Form 5500 Filing Simplification Act. The Form 5500 is the annual report that most private sector retirement plans must file with the federal government. The title indicates this bill would seek to streamline that filing process, potentially reducing paperwork and administrative costs for plan sponsors. If successful, small businesses offering 401k-type plans could see lower compliance burdens, which might encourage more employers to offer retirement benefits to their workers.
Finally, House Resolution 7650 is the McIntyre-Stennis Act District of Columbia Equality Act. The McIntyre-Stennis Act provides funding for forestry research at land-grant universities, including the University of the District of Columbia. The Equality Act portion suggests the bill would amend that funding to ensure equitable distribution or access for DC's institutions, possibly addressing historic disparities in research support for the nation's capital. If passed, it could strengthen forestry research capabilities locally and improve opportunities for DC students and scientists in the environmental sciences.
To sum up, today we covered a wide range of topics: coastal and ocean observation reauthorization, support for young fishermen, veterans contracting and critical minerals recycling, military flight safety, border protection, youth agricultural organizations, commemorative recognitions, retirement plan filing simplification, and forestry research equity. Each of these measures, whether a bill that could become law or a resolution expressing congressional sentiment, carries potential implications for everyday Americans, whether through safer coastlines, more job opportunities, better access to training, or greater recognition of community organizations.
That's all the time we have for today's Capital Catch-Up. Thanks for joining us, and be sure to tune in next week when we break down the latest votes and what they mean for you. I'm Leni.
And I'm Victor. Stay informed, stay engaged.